meeting, Richland County Board of Supervisors to order. And Derek Kalish is not present tonight, our county clerk. So Ms. Miranda Hagee will be acting in his stead. And Ms. Hagee, would you please call the roll?
Carol.
Here.
Can you
Didn't hear you.
Sorry, Brewer.
Here.
Seat.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Renish. Luck.
Here.
Manning.
Here.
Gottschall. Glassburner.
Here.
Gentis.
Here.
Turk.
Here.
Cosgrove. Frank.
Here.
Severson.
No.
Williamson.
Here.
Cooey. Fleming.
Here.
Voice.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
We have 15, sir.
I beg your pardon?
We have 15 members present. Yes.
Okay, we have a quorum, we can proceed. I don't know if we have anyone here from the Society of Ministers to do an invocation. Not seeing anyone. I would ask then Ms. Hagee to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a 25-point agenda tonight. Looking for a motion to approve. Mr. Manning, seconded by Mr. McKee. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We have an agenda. The minutes of August 15th were published. Do we have any corrections or changes or anything to do with those minutes? If not, I'm going to declare them approved as published. Brings us to the first order of business, an appointment, County Board Supervisor, District 2, and CCS Coordinating Committee. And with us tonight is Mary Miller, and she has graciously stepped forward and said, I will finish out the term of Sean Murphy Lopez. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Miranda Hagee, that she is the only applicant for that position. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, then I would ask for a motion and a second to Linda Gentis and Barb Voice seconds. All those in favor of appointing Mary Miller to serve out the term of Sean Murphy Lopez signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and I'm going to have the oath of office, the oath of administered to Mary right away, because we are voting on a spending resolution tonight, and we need a super majority when we make that vote. And unless, who knows, maybe Mary will not vote in the affirmative, I don't know. I hope she will. So, Mary, could you come down here, please, and we'll administer the oath of office. I don't know if it's called, is it called oath of office for supervisor? Yes, it is. This is democracy in action, right? Here.
office of County Board Supervisor, District Number 2.
The office, appointed to the office of District 2 Supervisor.
But yet have not entered upon the duties thereof. But have not yet.
But I have not yet entered upon the duties thereof.
Swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin.
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
And will faithfully discharge the duties of said office.
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
To the best of my
to the
ability.
best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations.
You sit by me, nobody wants to sit by me.
I think Mr. McGuire's making room for the newest board member beside him. So you just watch what Mr. McGuire does, Mary, and you can't go wrong. Okay. Thank you. We have a section for public comment. Do we have anyone for public comment? Mr. McGuire?
I just want to ask, I didn't see it on the agenda here, how did we do at the county fair this year? Was it a success?
Well, I don't think the final account, it was a success, in my opinion.
Okay,
I was there, and it looked like the grandstand was full, and the gates were full, and the rides were whirring, and people were getting sick on the rides. I rode that little, I don't know, some sort of thing made it look like a dragon and hurt my back, so everything was good.
okay, very good.
But we'll get a final report when we have all the bills in, so thanks. Okay, we've got to back up. Attorney Wendell has reminded me that we didn't make the CCS coordinating committee, which Mary has graciously agreed to. CCS, somebody help me here. So what is it, CCS?
Comprehensive Community Coordinating Committee.
Comprehensive Community Coordinating Committee. And Sean was a member of that, I suppose, and his vacancy leaves us with a vacancy. So if you'd be willing to do that, I'll ask the board. I think it involves. Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair.
Ingrid, last time.
So actually, this is not to appoint Mary Miller to this committee. We're just needing to redo so it's number 6C in the packet, and it has a list of the members.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I ran aground there, so, okay. Mary, relax. Okay. So we have a list of appointments, and Administrator Pesch, do you have that?
I do.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, so for the appointments to the committee, we have Brandy Christensen, Mackenzie Fisher, Elizabeth Muth, Marissa Baker, Dr. Gerald Barris, Nathan McBain, Anna Clarson, Connie Welt, and Charlie Hillman.
Okay, list of fine applicants. So any discussion on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion to appoint all the names listed. Thank you, Mr. Seep, seconded by Ms. Glasbrenner. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we have the appointments made. I apologize for the clumsiness there. It's just the way it appeared on the agenda. Confused me momentarily. Okay, public comment, we're done with. An initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $1,010,000 general obligation promissory notes for capital improvement projects. Ms. Heggie.
Are you wanting me to read the resolution, sir?
I'd like you to read that into, there should be a resolution there, numbered resolution.
Mr. Chair, I'll just step in here. This will be Resolution 23-88, initial resolution authorizing not to exceed $1,010,000 general obligation promissory notes for capital improvement projects. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county borrow an amount not to exceed $1,010,000 by issuing its general obligation promissory notes for the public purpose of financing 2024 capital improvement projects. There be and there hereby is levied on all taxable property in the county a direct annual tax in such years and in such amounts as are sufficient to pay when due the principal and interest on such notes. This would be adopted today. It is presented presumably by Finance and Personnel.
I think so, yes, that's correct. Okay, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Williamson, seconded by Turk. Discussion, this is something we have done now. I believe Carol Worth is the fourth time? Fourth time. And it has worked rather well for us. And it's a short-term borrowing package. It's not, doesn't add on to the long-term obligations we have. We pay it off in
March 1, 2024.
by March, so yeah. So it's relatively short-term. And we use this then for capital projects. So we need a super majority. 16 supervisors must vote in favor to give us this authorization. So we'll call the roll. And an aye vote means yes, we're authorized. A no vote means no.
Need a motion? Mr. Chair.
We got the motion.
We've got the motion.
Oh, that's right, Steve.
So please, Ms. Hagee, call the roll.
Carol,
Here.
No. Yes or no?
Yes.
Miller, Brewer,
Yes.
C,
Yes.
McKee,
Yes.
Renish, Luck,
Yes.
Manning,
Yes.
Gotchel, Glassburner.
Yes.
District 11 is still currently vacant. Gentis,
Yes.
Turk,
Yes.
Cosgrove,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Severson, Williamson,
Yes.
Cooey, Fleming,
Yes.
Voice,
Yes.
McGuire.
Yes.
We have 16 yes votes.
We have 15?
16.
16 yes votes. Thank you. So the resolution is adopted. Thank you for your attention and your attendance. The next order of business is a resolution approving a municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Finance Professionals Incorporated. And Ms. Carol Worth is here. representing Wisconsin public finance professionals. We know Carol, she's been to many meetings here, and she's here representing her firm tonight and asking for our approval to let her do this business for us. So can we read a little bit of that resolution, please?
This would be resolution number 23-89. Now therefore it be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the municipal advisory agreement with Wisconsin Public Financial Professionals, LLC, a copy of which is on file in the county clerk's office and which is accessible on the county's website. And be it further resolved by the county board chair, Marty Brewer, and the county administrator, Candace Pesch, is hereby authorized to sign the municipal advisory agreement on behalf of the county. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 5 September of 2023.
Thank you, and you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Ms. Lessrunner, seconded by Ms. Fleming. Any more discussion necessary? I don't think so. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution is adopted. So Carol, do your magic for us. Get us the lowest rate possible, and I know you will. Thank you.
Sure will. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for making the long trip over.
Absolutely.
Watch out for deer on the way back.
We'll be back in October.
You'll be back in October?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. We have had the Becker Professional Services doing a study of the county for us regarding economic development. And with us tonight is Mr. Gary Becker and his daughter Katrina. And Mr. Becker would like to give us an update as to what has happened, what will happen, and the information was in your packet. And Mr. Becker, if you please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that kind introduction. And so the reason that I'm here tonight started with the City of Richland Center's recent decision to withdraw on good terms from the longstanding partnership to promote economic development for all of Richland County so that they could focus on opportunities within their municipality. Thank you. While this situation is understandable, it does leave the county wondering what it can do with a very meager budget for economic development. Becker Professional Services was retained by Richland County to talk to key economic development stakeholders about what they feel are important priorities for economic development, consider their input, review local economic development plans, and provide a set of policy options for consideration by the county board. My presentation tonight is an update on what we've heard in going through that process and some of the thoughts about what Richland County can do regarding economic development and the different steps that it might be willing to take. Next slide.
You need to talk more in the microphone.
Yeah, get a little closer to the
You need to
microphone
get
here.
closer.
I've found it.
Oh, I should get it much closer than this. We held a number of meetings, including with the Red Board, the Richland Center Economic Development, and the City Administration, Richland County Board Chair, the Richland County Administration, we went to a meeting with the Richland County Towns Unit, and we met with Troy Majid from Southwest Regional Planning Commission and Ron Brisboy from Prosperity Southwest. And some of the things that we heard from talking with all those groups. We had many hours of meetings to talk about economic development. But the number one thing we heard from everybody that we spoke to was housing. Housing, housing, housing. Without exception, every conversation we had talked about the need for housing, that any initiative to attract employers or people to the county would require consideration for where they would secure housing. Zoning came up as an issue preventing land becoming available for housing. It is something that should be reviewed, especially at the township level with minimum lot sizes. County should consider making tax foreclosed property available for housing, and there is a need for a greater diversity of housing types. And just to be clear, I'm relaying things that we've heard, not necessarily what our recommendations are in this regard. The second item that came up again and again was related to income and investment. Long-term, low net new construction, low household income, declining school enrollment, expensive and limited daycare, and limited mobility is impacting not only school, county, and municipal finances, but the ability of households to participate in the labor market. Richland County's rural location, limited employment opportunities, lack of things for kids to do, and the above factors regarding income and investment that I just related are factors impacting the desirability of municipalities as places to live for employees and their spouses, opting for rural locations or closer to urban centers. For economic development and tourism, economic development cannot be addressed without addressing housing. There is tremendous economic development potential within the county, but many barriers exist to realizing that potential. There are resources in the region to assist with economic development. The Southwest Regional Planning Commission has, oh, we're still not good. Sorry about that. In the slides that were sent out, there was an error on this item number 3, and I didn't read my notes correctly. I think it says Prosperity Southwest has a $100,000 revolving loan fund. It's actually Southwest Regional Planning has a $1.8 million revolving loan fund that's available for use for economic development. The other thing we heard a lot about was tourism and short-term vacation stays in the county are booming, and that's primarily impacting townships in the county, but also Richland Center and the villages. Townships are being encouraged to adopt room tax ordinances to help pay for maintaining roads. The City of Richland Center is interested in continuing to collaborate with the county on economic development, tourism, housing, TIF, and reuse of the UW Richland Center campus. Richland Center could be more aggressive and strategic in its use of TIF to promote housing and economic development. Southwest Regional Planning Commission has recently started offering services to municipalities in this regard. Efficiency of government. One thing we heard from a couple of people that we talked to is that we can't cut our way to a better place. We need to be focused on goals and priorities, working smartly and working in partnerships. The Southwest Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission is currently in the process of updating the county's comprehensive plan. And then as far as UW Richland Center campus is concerned, there may be EDA, WEDC, or specially allocated state funding available to fund studies, renovation, or reuse activities for the UW Richland Center campus. Generally, there is a 3 to 9 month lag between grant application and award of funds for both EDA and WEDC funding. And this could be a source of funding to do the kinds of studies we're thinking of are evaluations of the facilities, or coming up with a master plan for the site, or taking steps to understand what the next steps might be for that campus. In terms of policy options for economic development that we believe are appropriate within the context that of our discussion is to use what available economic development budget the county has available. We've got 4 options laid out here. One, fund an economic development grant program, and this could be, $5,000 to $10,000 grants or forgivable loans to support economic development projects around the county. The county board would establish criteria for the award of an economic development grant and how often any given jurisdiction may apply. Richland Center Economic Development, Southwest RPC, and Prosperity Southwest all have experience administering similar funds and may be willing to advise or administer such a program for a fee. The second option we've laid out is to fund an effort to identify and prepare for development of housing on county-owned and tax foreclosed property in Richland County. And some of the things that the county might consider doing under this option would be to inventory county-owned and controlled property and its suitability for housing development, determine the development status and the cost to prepare suitable property for housing development, and determine how the county will want to transition the property to the housing market, such as should the county retain ownership or sell to developers, achieve certain objectives such as affordability. The third option we've laid out is to identify a 5-year economic development goal and bootstrap your way there by doing what you can each year. And some of the ideas for a long-term goal would be the reuse of the UW Richland Center campus, perhaps an entrepreneurial and small business support program, more of a traditional economic development services approach, an agriculture development and diversification type program. Whatever topic is selected would require someone to develop a vision, a long-term strategy, and a work plan that would result in achieving an objective over a given period of time. The work plan would be tailored to the amount of funding available in any given year. Grant funding from multiple sources could be applied to this option. Reuse of the UW Richland Center campus would stand the highest likelihood of securing outside funding. Local matches would likely be required. In addition to identifying those policy options, I was asked to provide my thoughts about the UW Richland Center campus. And it's my belief that the UW Richland Center campus is Richland County's greatest economic development asset, but if it's not managed properly, could quickly become its greatest economic burden. The county will need to evaluate the condition of the facilities on the site, being sure to separate what will need to be done to maintain the status quo versus what will need to be done to facilitate a specific reuse. The county's immediate interest is knowing what is needed to maintain the status quo and what issues will need to be considered for possible reuse and what the cost range is for resolving those issues. I believe there is a hierarchy of reuse opportunities ranging from relatively few modifications and modest impact to significant modifications and potentially high impact. The first thing on the list is the reuse of the site for education or training. The facilities are currently designed for this use and would serve to bring people into Richland Center for relatively short periods of time. Reuse as a corporate campus. The facilities may be renovated for the user or demolished and new construction by the user. This is an outstanding site for a small corporate campus for a company that identifies with or prefers small town rural settings. This could bring perhaps 25 to 250 well-paying jobs to the county. Develop the site for a mix of uses. A concept plan for developing housing on the site could bring interesting reuses to the buildings, depending upon the investment required to bring the buildings up to reuse standards. With the Simons Recreation Complex already serving an important function for area residents, additional housing could provide demand for complementary uses to reuse other buildings, such as the restaurant cafe and the former cafeteria. This site could be used to explore alternative housing types that may be more affordable but require greater participation and engagement with the residents. Some considerations for next steps regarding UW Richland Center campus. You should complete a site and facilities evaluation. I believe that that's moving forward in identifying service providers and costs. Identify a national and international real estate services firm that specializes in marketing institutional sites like this for reuse. There are many institutional sites on the market in rural locations. However, I believe this site can stand out among the others. And you should determine the cost and terms of engaging such a firm. And then prepare a request for an expression of interest in the reuse of the site. This document serves to provide information about the site and facilities to the market to solicit interest without requiring formal proposals as a response. The county would then follow up with a request for proposals for those expressions of interest it was interested in pursuing. This process could take a year to a year and a half to play out to the point where you hopefully have multiple proposals and offers to consider. If no opportunities come forward, only after pursuing these opportunities for reuses of the site that would bring new people, jobs, homes, or investment into the county, should the county consider the site and the facilities for its own uses, allowing the market a good 2 years to respond to the opportunity before pursuing county reuse. So I know there's interest in reusing the campus for county purposes, but my recommendation is to try to see if there are opportunities in the market for reuse of the campus and give that some time to play out before making a commitment for reusing the site for county use. And that concludes my presentation. I know you've got a long agenda tonight and may not have time for much discussion, but I would be interested in hearing some feedback and comments on what I presented.
Mr. Becker, I have a question. And the request for, what did we call it, RFEIs?
A request for expression of interest.
Expression of interest. Now, would that entail a semi-formal process by which people interested could, probably working through our reconfiguration committee, submit proposals? Is that the idea
They
here?
could submit their ideas, and then the committee could review those ideas and then select ones that it would ask for a more formal proposal. It takes a lot of work to respond to a request for proposal, and so we don't want to put a lot of people unnecessarily through the work of preparing a proposal. But if you get ideas in and you find a few ideas that you'd like to pursue, then you can ask for a formal proposal to follow up.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Anyone else have questions? Mr. Frank?
So what kind of corporate campus things have you seen, businesses? I'm not looking for specifics, but in other areas, what types of businesses or corporate things have been done on campuses?
Well, certainly you're not going to get a manufacturing operation locating in a place like this. It would be for, I'm thinking a headquarters facility for a small company, or an overseas or international corporation that would like to have a North American headquarters, and they identify with rural small town communities. The Richland Center in Richland County would be an outstanding location, and that campus is just, I think it can easily win hearts for those who look at it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, Mr. Becker, and I think we'll look forward to the expanded report that'll follow up, and thank you very much for your work in the county.
And thank you.
Okay, and with us tonight are representatives of the Richland Hospital, and with us is Bruce Reisler, who is the administrator. He told me I can't call him the chief executive officer because that sounds way too stuffy. So he's the administrator of the hospital. And with him is my old friend and classmate, Marilyn Reinhardt, who is head of the foundation and the president of the Richland Hospital. So Bruce is going to give us details on, you've heard a lot about what's going to happen. Now we're going to get kind of details, broad brush details. So Bruce, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Brewer. I'm Bruce Schreisler, Administrator. Marilyn Reinhardt is a member of our Hospital Board of Directors, and she's a past chair of the Hospital Board. So she graciously agreed to attend with me this evening. You can put the next slide up there, Marilyn. I understand that all the board members who have this packet of information, my presentation for you. I'd like to start out our conversations talking about our hospital mission. And sometimes we use an eagle to help represent our organization. The eagle evokes images of independence, and we are an independent hospital, meaning we're not part of a corporation or a system that's headquartered somewhere else. We belong to the people of the greater Richland area. We're a 501c3, volunteer board of directors that oversee the strategic plan and the operations of our organization with an objective of serving the interests of the people who live here, optimizing patient health, operationalizing our set of outcomes for patient care and the future of the organization. So, next slide, please. So I included a photo of the historical part of our facility. If you look very closely at the building kind of on the left and more the foreground, you can see a upper story set of windows and that have a little bit of an arch to them. And that's significant in that a few years ago we were doing some remodeling in our current hospital building, and we tore down a wall, and sure enough, there is that window. We've been in our current location for 99 years. Next year will be our centennial, and indeed, our part of our facility is entombed, encapsulated in our existing facility, which suggests some of the problems we're having with our current facility, that we're believing that it's coming to the end of its expected life, because indeed some of these walls are hidden here and there, and some of the plumbing, and you can imagine the sewer and water that's underneath this building. So I also want to point out to you, before I start talking about the new building, that we're an important part of the economy. We just heard from Mr. Becker about the economic development and its future to our area. Some people may not be aware that, at least by some measures, the Richland Hospital and Clinics is the area's largest employer. We employ about 425 people. Not all of them are full-time. The hospitals are prone to using a lot of part-time help, but we have an annual payroll last year of just over $30 million. And so I suspect many of you have family members or at least friends who are employees of the hospital, and this provides a strong contribution to our local economy. Next, please. I also wanted to just brag momentarily here. Just a few months ago, we were recognized by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, federal government, who recognized us for our patient satisfaction scores. You may or may not be aware that hospitals across the country are required by the federal government to survey their patients. And patients take these surveys and return results, and then all these hospitals are compared and put into ranked categories. And our hospital rated 5 stars, which is the most possible. We have the highest level of patient satisfaction scores that is achievable according to the federal government. So it's, we just want to say that our organization really proud of the services we provide, rightfully proud. And I think our patients recognize that the hospital does a good job and is an important part of our economy. So I'm here largely just, again, for informational purposes to talk about our plans to rebuild our facility. And the first question we typically get is why are we looking to rebuild? And in fact, this is a journey that we've been on for about 5 years now. About 5 years ago, we received a study from an architectural firm that we've long used that did an analysis of our building, stem to stern, top to bottom, looked at the way our building functions today, but also looked at the infrastructure, the building systems, and came up with two diverse pathways. One was to invest tens of millions of dollars in replacing building systems and redesigning, in some cases, existing space. But realizing that over the course of 100 years, and something like 9 or 10 substantial renovation projects and additions, we've used up every possible avenue of doing additional space, adding on additional space to our building. So we can take that pathway, and in the end, we'd still have a lot of compromises. There's a number of things that we can't change about our existing building. For instance, we can't put the MRI inside because the ceiling clearance between floors is insufficient, and we can't add an emergency department parking lot because there is no space, and we can't do several kinds of things. So we could take that pathway, or we could take the other pathway of building new, which was ultimately decided back in 2018, a recognition that this site has served us well, but it's after 100 years, it's time to move on and start over. There's a recognition that I've had in my long career that there's really never an ideal time to start a new hospital, because the life of a hospital is that they constantly are remodeling and adding on. Is there always something that you just did, meaning in the last 10 or 15 years, you just put on, in our case, we just put on, 15 years ago, it's been that long, renovated our patient care beds, our inpatient zone. But on the other hand, we have other parts of our building that are 50 and 70 years old and are not up to date. So depending on when you started paying attention to this project, this journey's been going on for a long time, 5 years, or why are you moving so quickly? Because it does seem like it's caught some people by surprise, but in fact, go back to 2018, we made that decision, and so we bought land a while ago now, and oh, by the way, we had to contend with the Richland Medical Center and the Richland Hospital merging, and we had the COVID pandemic, and we had a major information system replacement project. So those have been speed bumps to slow us down in the progress with that. But earlier this year, our board made a decision that we wanted to hire a project manager to get us going through these steps, and so we've done that. And so consequently now, our project manager has helped us select an architect, and more recently select a general contractor, a construction manager, and we're going through the design process. We're making substantial progress, and that's where we are today. Is we're trying to find a way to get to a time when we can put a shovel in the ground. So listed a number of the various consultants that work with us along the way. Medcraft is that Sherpa, that guiding construction agency we're using for Vicker. For civil engineering, BWBR is a architectural firm. They're based in St. Paul, but they have offices in Madison. Kramer Brothers, I trust you're all familiar with. Lubent is a financial advising firm. Whitfley is a consultant and an auditor to us. They put together a feasibility study. So we needed to look at, if we were to build a new hospital, how does it get paid for, and what does that look like long-term, and indeed it's favorable. And then we are seeking a USDA direct loan to, in essence, provide a mortgage to our organization that we will pay back over something like 30 or 35 years. But the advantage of using the USDA is that they will offer us a competitive interest rate to a small organization, and we're, in spite of the previous numbers I shared, we're relatively small. They're a rural-oriented organization. So we need their cooperation. It seems like our project will probably not get USDA approval by the end of the month, the end of the federal fiscal year, more specifically. And so this project and the direct loan that we're seeking is likely, though not definitively, going to be held up by the federal budget deliberations. Hopefully Congress and the President come to a place where we have a budget and can move forward. But that is the process that we're going through. Next slide, please, Marilyn. So I have a number of anticipated improvements. You have your packets, so I'm not going to read those all before you. But in the end, we're going to have a reliable facility that improves patient care. It's going to be something that our community can be very proud of, and it's going to enhance care in many respects. Chances are most people here are familiar, like for instance, with our emergency department, and that it's relatively small, and that it's difficult to achieve privacy at times because of its small size. Our emergency room is going to be something really wonderful that emphasizes privacy and sufficient space for family to be engaged in the care. Our emergency department volumes have gone up 20% in the last 2 years over previous volumes, so this is certainly something that we need. As to current state, we have completed a feasibility study. This is something that we can afford as our organization in a combination of growing services, which we have been of late, and participation from the federal government and through the Medicare reimbursements. This is a very doable thing. Next slide, please. I want to assure everyone that we're getting a lot of input from our hospital staff. Most of us know something about running a hospital or providing excellent patient care. None of us have necessarily built a new hospital, but it's really important to have input from the people who are working in the building, and so we have had that represented. Again, visioning is a set of outcomes that we're looking to achieve. I won't go through each of those in detail. Next slide. Then I have a diagram of the hospital, and I realize that's really difficult to decipher there. But basically, if you look at this, the building in the shape of a wide V, the inside angle there is where the front door is, and if you came in the front door and moved to our right, is where the clinic is, and the hospital emergency department and things are to the left. It's a 2-story building. This is the upper floor, and you can see the upper floor is smaller than the first floor. Upstairs is where the patient rooms are, and also, I'm sorry? Yeah, so I take it for granted everybody knows that we'll be on the former co-tractor's site. The building, the V, if you will, is facing out toward Highway 14 East. So there's a large parking lot, if you will, in the upper right of that diagram. And behind us is the Pine River bike trail. The V in the building shape actually correlates to the property line that our lot is on. And then finally, this is just a conceptual diagram of what the exterior might look like. Just to give you an orientation, we're looking at the front of the building, and we're kind of hovering in the air above where the helipad is likely to be, looking closely, or most closely toward the emergency department. It's going to be a beautiful building. We're making considerable progress in designing different elements of it. We should have construction documents finished early next year. That Kramer Brothers, as construction manager, will seek to use as much local construction labor as possible, and is going to be a wonderful thing for our community. So I'm pleased to take any questions. I have a set of key points here. The one is that, again, people want to know why it is that we're doing this. And I think there's a lot of reasons. Fundamentally, we're trying to be fiscally prudent. We're trying to, instead of put good money into an old building, to start over, and because that is the long-term correct path to take. We're making decisions with input from all of our staff. We're going to maintain all of our existing services. There are no service cuts that we're anticipating, and it's something that we're all going to be proud of. Thank you for your time this evening. I'd be happy to take any questions. Otherwise, on the last slide there is a reference to our hospital website, where there's a frequently asked questions page on our website, or else you can email community relations, and we will respond to those. Sir.
Will the clinic be housed in this building?
The clinic and the hospital, we operate them as one entity, so we're all going to move together.
Many of us grew up here in Richland County, and the one thing I hear about out in the public is the fact that the contractor had a lot of oil and a lot of...
The people online can't hear you.
Oh,
I know you knew. It's right up at the top. Nope.
Oh, I was just saying that the thing that we hear out in the public is that the local tractor area is oil and dirt, the land has been a problem out there in the past for other people.
Yes.
Could you just tell us how you bypass that kind of?
Certainly, so the questions about possible environmental contamination, and this was a concern that we were aware of prior to purchasing the facility, and so we did several environmental studies, borings of all over the site, worked with the DNR and the EPA, and basically, because the site has been not used for years and years and years, there is scant evidence of any contamination residing at this time. What there is not going to be disturbed, because we'll be putting a parking lot over it, so we don't have any concerns about contamination.
Will you be having your own septic system and everything, or are you going to be with the Richland Center?
We are going to be seeking annexation to the city for sewer and water. Practically speaking, a hospital has to be part of the city. So you're going to be seeing that in the next couple months here in the media, working with the city government.
And another consideration, Bruce, is the traffic, the roads. How are people going to get there? It's kind of tough right now to even get there. So that's all going to be taken care of, right?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I believe the city of Richland Center is contemplating or has committed to paying for a traffic study along that stretch of Highway 14 so they can get a reading of how many cars. We have typically up to 400 patients a day come through our doors on a busy day, so it will create a lot of traffic. And then be next to Walmart, again, a highly trafficked zone. We have our concerns about making sure that US 14 remains safe, yet accessible to us, and we're looking forward to getting the results of the traffic study that the city is seeking to do.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr.
I
McGraw.
got a two-part question. I don't know what all your project partners do. I know I recognize some of the names. I don't. But when you mentioned something here. You have a $115 million budget, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then I've heard you say that you are already having Kramer Brothers perform some sort of a. Are you going to take a $115 million project and just hand it over to a building contractor without putting it out to bids?
We are using a construction management approach. So we have already, our board of directors has interviewed large construction management firms that had to present what they.
Well, I mean, you're not answering my question, sir.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
So it is a construction management approach with an open book. So the work that Kramer Brothers is going to perform, they need to seek subcontractors on a bid basis. If they self-perform, they have to compete against people who bid for the work.
Okay, I find that answer somewhat vague, but we'll just leave it for now. My other question is, everything you've talked about is all about some things about the present hospital that are not too attractive or functional, and everything about the new hospital is very attractive and very functional. But I haven't heard one word about it, maybe a 10-year study about actual patients that come into this hospital. Is there a serious need for this hospital based on numbers of people that come here as patients?
Yeah, how could I answer that? I would say our hospital, we do market share studies, if that helps answer that question. And in our primary service area, we know that about 50% of anybody who resides in our service area who is hospitalized over the course of the year is hospitalized in Richland Center. Now you say 50%, that doesn't sound like a lot, but consider all the types of care that are only received in larger hospitals. Somebody's getting a heart bypass surgery, or some other, you have a very sick baby and they're in a NICU, or you're getting radiation therapy. Those are services we don't offer. So 50%, Mark, is pretty good for inpatient. On an emergency department basis, if you looked at people from the Richland zip code, the last time I looked, anybody from the Richland Center zip code who used an emergency room over the course of a year, 88% of those ER visits were at our hospital. So I think we have a lot of popular support for our organization. Services are used, and we're a thriving entity. And then you start to think about the converse. If our hospital didn't exist, and that $30 million in payroll didn't exist here, all that money would go elsewhere. So I think on a lot of ways, having a local community hospital is very justifiable. I hope that answers your question.
once again, I like to just deal in numbers, not about the future. I don't want to talk about the future of this hospital.
Sure.
I want to talk about where the present hospital has been for the last 10 years.
Sure. Well, we're going to set a modern day record for the number of surgeries done in our hospital this year. We're on track to do that. Our emergency department visits are higher than ever. And those are numbers that indicate that more and more people are selecting our organization for care.
I think if you look at the demographics
All right, we'll leave it there.
of our county, and we're not getting younger. The county, the fastest growing population segment of our county is over age 65. So I don't know if that necessarily equates to more hospital visits. I think it does. And so this care is extremely important to the community. So I thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Marilyn, for running the clicker.
Thank you.
And, okay. I jumped ahead a little bit with Becker's, and now I have the hospital. So I noticed Melissa Cheryl talking to you before. Petitions for zoning amendments received. What do you need? Well, okay. I thought we'd save you till last, but you need to go ahead. Do you want to hear the administrator's report now? I think since it was listed here, we should do that. So go ahead, Candace Pesh, administrator.
Okay, so in your packet, you should have all received the 2024 preliminary budget summary. This is not an action item for this evening, but it is for your information. It has been presented to Finance and Personnel. And so just to go through the slides very quickly, the highlights for this budget are that we received an increase in shared revenue this year of $803,000. We've also had a good year with our investment income, and there's been an increase of $375,000. We also received an excess bonding premium. It's a one-time revenue that we will get from our bond for the radio tower project. That has to be, by statute, reallocated back to the debt service. But that will offset our normal expenditures for debt service by $321,899. You will also note in this budget that we are not using any fund balance, we are not using any contingency funds, and we are not using any ARPA dollars. So we're pretty proud of that. This budget also includes a 5% COLA and a step increase for all county employees. As you all know, we are trying to make up for years of lax and behind the curve wages. And reduction in short-term borrowing for capital improvements. This year we decreased by $40,000, and we hope to, going forward, start being proactive, putting money away so that we can eventually eliminate that short-term borrowing that we've been doing these past few years. And this also includes a 13% increase for our health insurance premium. The state plan initially came out and said we were going to have a very small increase, and then came back and said, nope, it's not going to be so small. That is included in this budget as well. So the next slide talks about the types of revenue that you will see in this report, because I think it's really important to understand each category and what you're looking at. So taxes are the county sales tax, interest of taxes, forest crop funding. Tax levy is the funding gap between revenues and expenditures. Intergovernmental is all of our state aid. Regulation and compliance is fines, forfeiture, and various fees. Public charges for service, departmental fees charged within the county, and this is really important. It's HHS, Pine Valley, the sheriff, so there are a lot of things in that general category. Other general revenues, other non-departmental fees, things that we charge. Commercial revenues are our investment incomes. That comes from our general fund, from judgments and circuit court. And then highway, transportation aid, operational aid, our town bridge aid, our cost shares, our wheelage tax, and our state maintenance agreements. So we have a lot of different pots that our revenues are coming from. And so the next slide will just show you the total in each of these categories, which lands us at $43,388,575.93. So those were all the revenues that we're expecting in 2024. The chart after that is just a pie graph, so that you can see where exactly those largest pots of money are coming from. Public charges for service make up, 16 million, 37% of what we bring in. If you look at the tax levy, that is 25% of what we bring in. So this is just a nice graphic. The next slide will talk about our expense types. Here again, I think it's equally important that we understand what is in each expense type. So general government is just general administration. Public safety covers the ambulance, emergency government, animal control, health and social services. This one is very important. This covers Pine Valley, HHS, all departments, child support, and veteran services. So again, a very large grouping. Not just our health and human services are contained in health and social services. Transportation, we have the airport. Highway, we have the administration, bridge construction, town bridge cost shares, equipment, and our state maintenance agreement. Culture, that is our libraries and our county fair. Public areas are our snowmobile trails, our county parks, Ash Creek Community Forest, and Simons. Special education is extension. Natural resources, land conservation, wildlife damage management, nursery stock, recycling, and watershed. County planning, Southwest Wisconsin regional planning, zoning, and failing septic systems. County development, we have economic development. Debt service, we have our debt service payments, as we all know. And capital projects are those projects that we are planning for that are large-scale projects that we need to do to maintain our things around our county. So if you look at the 2024, then preliminary expenses, you will see that we have a balanced budget at $43,388,575.93. This budget does include 2 or 3 new positions. It includes a finance director, it includes an HR generalist, and a jail administrator. All of which the jail administrator has been needed for many years, where we need to comply with the state regulations. And for a county of our size with nearly 500 employees, we have never had an HR generalist or a finance director. And I think those are critical in the operation of a county. And those were also things that were identified in your strategic plan as necessary to ensure that we are operating as efficiently and as effectively as we can, and to best serve our citizens. So if you look on the next slide, you'll again see our preliminary expenses. So health and social services makes up about 49% of that expenditure. You will see that 13%, we have 2 categories of 13%, but again, this is a nice overview of where those expenditures are come into play and what they're being utilized for. The next slide is our debt service summary. So this lists out exactly what we have in outstanding debt and for what. So we had some debt consolidation that took place in years past. We had some capital improvement projects, and then we had the Pine Valley and the radio tower. So our total, on the top there, you'll see the debt summary, remaining principal only. And you'll see those numbers. And the 24 debt payment summary, you will also see at the bottom. So for example, the general debt summary, principal only, is $3,965,000. Each year, with principal and interest, we pay $937,515. For Pine Valley, the general debt in total, principal only, is $16,025,000. Our debt payment on Pine Valley each year is $1,476,200. The radio tower is $8.1 million. We will not start paying on that until 2024, and that will be $388,842.36, and I believe that's a principal or an interest-only payment. And then short-term borrowing, we talked about that $1.010 million. It's very short. We take it out and then we pay it off in March, and with the interest on that, we will pay $1,022,625. So that's a picture of where our debt service is at. The next area is levy by department. We often get asked, how much does this department cost the taxpayer? And so this is where everything is broken down, and you can see what percentage of the levy correlates with a specific area. So dog licensing fees, they're 0.13% of the levy. The sheriff's office is 37.19% of the levy. Emergency government is 0.47% of the levy. So this is a good illustration so that all of you can see exactly which services are taking some of that levy and how much of it is being utilized. So with that, that is the end of our budget presentation. This is, again, a very broad overview. But it gives you a chance to start looking at it and developing any questions that you might have, and then bringing them forward so that we can address them or answer them. Additionally, to go on with my report, I have been asked by Trish to discuss drivers for home delivered meals. So this program has about 60 individuals who receive home delivered meals on a daily basis. There are 6 different routes. Each route takes about an hour. The majority of the drivers are volunteer, and they're able to receive 51 cents per mile in mileage reimbursement. We are sorely in need of drivers out of the Richland Center site. You can deliver as little or as much as you'd like, and if there's a cancellation of school due to inclement weather, meal deliveries are canceled, so you're not expected to be out in adverse weather. And so if you are interested, please reach out. If you have friends or family members that you think may be interested, please reach out to them, and then you can reach out to the ADRC and speak with them to get started. And then in place of my monthly normal briefings here, you'll all notice that you're starting to receive a weekly update in your email inbox. I just think there's too much that goes on a daily and weekly basis to try to cram it all into one little report once a month. So this is my way of trying to increase communication and transparency with all of you, to keep you involved into the day-to-day happenings, inform you what's going on with other committees. So I encourage you at any point, if you have thoughts, ideas, questions, or concerns, please reach out to me on any of those items, and I'll be glad to meet with you. Additionally, I did invite all of you to schedule some time with me for one-on-one meetings. Now that we've kind of got the budget settled in a little bit, I have a little bit more time, not a lot, but I would love to take that time to meet with all of you and hear what your priorities are, and any concerns that you have, any thoughts or suggestions. I would really appreciate the time. So reach out to me and we'll see what we can do to get something on the calendar. And also, yes, the survey. So you all received the handy dandy survey here. This is part of John and I's attempt to hear from you how you feel about the reorganization that has happened, and different ideas or thoughts on how you think things are going. Is it working well? Is it not working well? Would you like to see something different? So this is our jumping off point. So if you haven't already, please complete the survey and return it to either John or myself, and we'll compile the results, and then we will bring them back to you for further discussion. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Administrator Pesch. That's a lot. And good news on the budget, people. I can't tell you how easier it's made my nights laying on my pillow, thinking about our budget and our inability to do many of the things that we wanted to do. And now, I'm not gonna say that we're not gonna be spendthrifts. The money, the extra money that we got in revenue sharing actually helps us balance our budget. And without it, we would have been in dire straits trying to balance that budget. So, it's been good news. We will, when we adjourn tonight, we will be adjourning to October 24th, which is a special date, and normally we'd be the third Tuesday, but this time it'll be the fourth Tuesday in October. And that will be the final adoption and the public hearing on the 24 budget. So please put that in your calendars. And do you have any questions of Administrator Pesch while we have her here? And I know you can ask her questions anytime you want, but we do have her here before us. If not, we'll move on to Melissa Luck. I noticed Cheryl talking to you earlier. I understood there were no petitions for zoning to take up, but
Not tonight, but we had 7 requests for zoning amendments that will be sent to the zoning committee.
okay, so you're covering then items 11 and 12?
Yes, and
Anything recommended for denial?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, resolution approving a fee increase, number 13, a fee increase for marriage licenses and waivers. Miranda, do you have a resolution before you, Ms. Iggy?
This would be resolution number 23-90. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that fees for marriage licenses and waivers be adjusted as following. For the marriage license fee, $75, and a waiver fee of $15. Be it further resolved that the funds received for marriage licenses and waivers will be receipted as follows, and there's a chart below. Be it further resolved that this resolution would be effective 1 November of 2023. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 5 September of 2023.
Thank you. You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. Manning makes the motion. Do we have a second? Mr. McKee. I think we surveyed other counties, did we not, Miranda?
Yes, Derek has a section here if you'd like me to read it.
Well, sure, go ahead.
It's just a brief explanation. Richland County currently charges only $50 for each marriage license and $5 for each waiver. Records indicate that these fees have remained the same since 1993, while costs to provide the statutory services, staff time and supplies have increased over the years. A recent survey of marriage licensing and waiver fees noted that comparable counties charge on average of $75.15 for each marriage license and $15.35 for each waiver. The same survey noted that the average fee statewide for each license is $88.06 and $20 for each waiver. In either case, Richland County charges less for fees than the average of comparable counties and statewide average. The proposed new fees would increase the fees for the license from $50 to $75, which is a $25 increase, and the fee for the waiver from $5 to $15, which is a $10. These were included in the proposed 2024 budget. Additional projected revenues of approximately $2,760 would be used to offset salary costs and assist in the reduction of overall amount levied for the office of the county clerk. The proposed increased fees would be effective as November 1st of 2023. No additional expenses would be incurred by increasing the marriage license.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Barb Weiss.
I'm just curious. I don't know, what is the waiver for?
There's a waiting period that's mandated by the state of Wisconsin from when the applicants apply for their license and when they can it be actually issued. There are certain circumstances that can be waived, such as if one of the people is active military and they can't conform to the waiting period.
Okay, I wondered too, now I know. Dan, nothing?
Well, I was just gonna ask, if it hasn't worked out for you and you're gonna get married again, do you get like a frequent user rate or something?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Possibly. I don't know.
Like a frequent flyer rate,
Okay, I don't think so, but anyway, we haven't raised them since '93, it's time we did it. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. We've raised our fees. Number 14, a resolution approving the creation and hire of a finance director position. I will defer then to Administrator Pesch.
So what you have before you is the job description and the rating from Carlson Detman for a finance director position. As you'll recall, there has been a temporary solution to this where the county clerk has also been serving as the finance director, which is by resolution to end and also not sustainable with the level of work and the amount of responsibility that goes with that position. In addition, with the changes that we really need to make, we need a finance professional that has accounting experience and has had a career in public finance. And so that is what we are looking to add. This position is in the budget for 2024. And so I ask that you approve the resolution.
And do you have a deputy clerk? Peggy, do you have a resolution then prepared?
Yes.
Please read that.
This would be resolution number 23-91. Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval to create and fill the position of finance director is hereby given. Be it further resolved that this approval is effective on its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Finance and Personnel Standing Committee on 5 September of 2023.
Okay, you've heard the resolution and Administrator Pesch gave an explanation. Could I have your pleasure? Does anyone want to move forward with this, please? Yes, Ms. Fleming, and seconded by Mr. Williamson. Okay, questions, comments? Barb Boyce.
Yes, I'd like to have a statement, please. A year ago, we were in dire financial straits as a county. Supposedly, we've come out of this financial crisis, but do we really need these extra hires? I've given this subject a lot of thought. When I first saw Candace's email about it, I was really against hiring more people. So to learn more about this, I took the time to watch the video of the Finance Committee and saw their point of view as to why we should have a finance director and an HR assistant. We have to remember that we're a county of 17,300 people. We have to realize that the average income here is $30,000. And how can we sit here and add another manager and another department, which will then add another employee or two and another assistant, with the financial manager making a minimum of $83,000, not counting his benefits? Does hiring another manager for $83,000 accomplish that much? Especially when he's going to need an assistant, a secretary, and then, another financial genius. All this for a county of 17,000 people. And next, we as a board hired Candace for our new administrator. She has extensive experience in HR, and that was a plus for us. Now she needs an assistant for HR, and again, that assistant will probably need an assistant, and we'll have to find offices for all these people and money to pay them all. I was always taught that when a job is created, one must prove their value by either making money or saving money. That savings may be in service or actual dollars. The common complaint among most workers here is that we have so many more people with high salaries and they have offices and sit in meetings all day and don't contribute to the economy at all. This is what I've heard. Is this what we want to project to the county taxpayers? That we have a lot of chiefs and not enough Indians? We need workers, not more managers or department heads or administrators. We are finally, after the doomsday reckoning of our financial matters, in a positive position. Questions I have been asked and statements that I have heard are, we have a county treasurer, what does he do? Can't he be a financial manager? We hired the county administrator with the understanding she is an HR expert, and now we want to expand that office? Another one was, I suppose with the new money coming in, we'll see more big honking trucks in the parking lot. I wasn't quite sure what that one meant, but we need more public health nurses and mental health nurses, and you want to add more managers instead of spending money on things that will help the people? And this from a previous administrator. Going to the county administrator model was supposed to be good for us. All I see is adding more people to the payroll for my taxes to pay for it. Someone has to pay for these people, and it's the taxpayers. So we have to be able to explain to them how this is a good idea. I have no doubt that this request will pass, but it won't be unanimous. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You have a lot of questions in that statement, Barb, but I'll take a shot at one of them, and that is, this is according to our plan, our strategic plan. One of, at least my goals when I assumed the chairmanship was bringing our county into quote unquote maybe the modern age of and it's, I realize we have only 17,000 people. However, that does not diminish all of the things that we have to do as a county. I mean, if we were a county of 5 people, we would still have to meet all the state requirements, federal requirements, and it's really those kinds of things that drive the financial part of it. As far as HR part of it, we had planned to go with an HR director. Well, now we've moved back away from that because Administrator Pesh does come to us with HR experience, but she can't do that without some assistance. We no longer have the assistant to the administrator position, so this would be basically fulfilling that role with the emphasis on HR. Administrator Pesh, did you care to comment?
Yes, so I hear what you're saying, but unfortunately, when you have an organization with 500 employees and millions of dollars routing through, it is imperative that you have adequate staff with the expertise to ensure that we are performing what we need to do according to the statutory and federal regulations. I have been informed that in the past we have not completed reporting timely, we weren't even aware that there was reporting, that we haven't done things that could cost us money in the long run, and this is why this is a sorely needed position. I would love it if I could come in and do 3 jobs, but the truth of the matter is I don't have enough hours in the day to do the 1.5 jobs I'm doing right now to get us to where we need to be. I don't take this recommendation lightly. I understand it's a significant amount of money, but I also do believe that the efficiencies and the effectiveness that can be created by this position will actually save us money and maybe even bring us in some more money in the long run. And so that is my comment on why this position is being recommended.
Yes, thank you. Mr. McGuire.
I have a simple question. We already have a treasurer.
Correct.
Is there any possibility that a financial manager and the treasurer's duties could overlap or conflict? Would they be adequately defined?
I'll take a shot at that, Dan. I know that the county treasurer is a what we call a constitutional officer. They're elected, and their duties are prescribed in state statute. And so I think it would be really tough for us to roll in. Probably we can't, would be my guess. But you're right. But there are some things we can do. Anyone else want to take a shot at that? I don't think I did a good job of answering that, but.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Seat.
do we have the, perhaps I didn't hear, what is the salary for the HR position?
It's, this is the finance director, Mr. Seat.
Okay, I thought we were also talking about an HR position.
No, not yet.
All right. What's the salary for the finance position?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, please.
It is a grade Q, which would be $83,803.20, and the top of that range is $95,222.40.
Well, you jumped from 80,000 to 93,000. I didn't catch the jump.
Yeah, well, that's the range down. It starts at 83 and goes up to 90.
Okay, fine. And the indirect costs are 40% over that, approximately, is that right?
Roughly, yeah.
Pardon?
Yes, roughly, you add in Social Security and all of the things that you need to do, and yes.
So that's another, at 90,000, another $36,000 on top of the base salary. The proposed HR position, is that coming forward for 24?
It is included in the budget, yes.
And what is the proposed salary for HR?
Mr. Chair?
Approximately the same, or less or more?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, please.
At this point, Finance and Personnel has approved the job description to be sent to Carlson Detman for a wage to be assigned, but it has not yet been assigned at this point.
But it wouldn't be in the director status.
It would not. It would be significantly less, in my opinion, because this is a generalist position, so it's a support role. And I would also add that it became very apparent very quickly when I started that we would need additional assistance in HR, and so I gave up my assistant to the administrator in order to save that money so that it could be redirected to an HR generalist position, because I felt that that was more important than me having someone to just assist me on a day-to-day basis. I think that is a much more effective use of the time and of the dollars to benefit the county as a whole.
So is the HR position a new department?
No, sir. It will be, both of these positions will be under the administrator, and we do not plan to add any additional administrative staff because we have collaboration with the clerk's office, and we have Tammy Hendrickson who does payroll. So with the staff we already have, we can support the additional roles that we plan to add.
Thank you, Candace. The $125,000 roughly for the finance position, and you're saying much less, what, 60,000 for the HR position? You have a ballpark figure?
If I went off of other counties, I would say probably somewhere between 45 and 65,000. But again, that's just a very rough estimate. Until I get the assessment back from Carlson Detman, I can't speak definitively.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's possible that we would be spending possibly another gross 70,000 with indirect costs for that position, 50 and 20 perhaps. So we're looking at a couple $100,000 additional cost, and does that look like it's doable, Candace? You're looking at projections over the next 2 years?
It's in the 24 budget already, so.
I understand that.
Yes, sir. It's in the budget and it is sustainable over time. As you'll see if you look a little closer at the budget or when we put out the additional information, we actually for the first time have additional monies that we have to assign to our capital projects and to do some other things that we haven't been able to do in past years. So no, this will not be an unsustainable decision going forward.
Thank you, Candace. It concerns me somewhat. We talk about increased cost and we keep adding on cost for fees for services to our citizens. And now not that I have any vested interest in the marriage license. I don't intend to get married again. I think my wife is going to keep me around for another few years, having just reached.
Don, that train has left the station. So.
Pardon?
That train has left the station.
Yes, that train has left the station. But secondly, we most recently had a proposal to increase fees for septic inspections, and we had some discussion a few months ago about taxing people for solar. Ironically, we encourage people to improve their septic systems so that we can improve our quality of water in the community and in the county, in the region. And we also are trying to save energy by and improving the greenhouse gas issue by adding solar systems. And yet, we want to tax those and provide a disincentive rather than an incentive. So I think we need to be careful about where we look for revenue. And I am very concerned that we keep adding additional fees to our citizens who are already paying very, very heavy taxes. So, thank you, Candace, and I will support this, but I do have reservations.
Thank you. I want to remind you, we are discussing the finance director position right now. Anyone else? Mr. Frank.
So it's my understanding that you currently, Candace, I'm sorry, Director, you do not have an assistant at this point?
I do not.
Okay, and that's part of this plan to put this together, right? Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Linda Gentis.
I'm glad you clarified that. I think there's a lot of things that need to be clarified so that we do understand this better, because we want to be good stewards with this money and everything. I need my memory fixed a little bit from people who are on the county board, and maybe I'm just forgetting things, but when we decided to have an administrator, we had lots of talk about the two reasons we needed an administrator was for financial and for HR. And we did discuss in depth that that would be hard to find one person who would have those two qualities that could address both of those things. So I do sort of understand that part, that it is hard to do that. I don't think you have to follow the strategic plan to the letter if we decide that there are other things that are more important. So I like to make sure that that was our discussion. And then the other thing is, I had sent an email, and I think I want to clarify that I've learned some things since then. I was worried about HHS and not every meeting I went to in the spring for different things, and also some meetings with the campus, I kept hearing we have to cut HHS by so many positions and things are not going well, and the placements are that. And I also know that and I have that directly from who runs the free clinic, that there is not a nurse that's going there that was working with that and was helping people quite with good direction. So I'm a little concerned whether we're meeting the exact services of people and we have enough employees for that. Then I would like to say two other things. I think we need someone who is in charge of maintenance and like a maintenance department. I'm not sure whether I need the HR or the finance, but we need, and I think you've been working toward combining things with public works, But what I think we need is a good maintenance department that works throughout the county for all of our buildings and all of our things. And I'm not sure that that's not more important here. That's why I need to get your value on that. And then the other one is procurement. And I don't know if the finance person would be addressing that or not. But, you know, we have copy machines. We've never figured out how to get what we're purchasing in a better format. We're just sort of doing it when things come up or down. So I was just hoping that the finance committee, before they went forward with all this, that they would sort of analyze those needs and make sure that they're met. And then my final comment, these are just comments, is when I looked at the budget, now the administration is 5.4% of the whole budget, which after highway and placements and the sheriff's department is the highest percent in our budget. So I just was thinking that finance and personnel needs, maybe this is what we need to do, but maybe you just need to look at all these other things before we make these quick decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ingrid, you had your hand up.
Were you going to address that?
Mr. Chairman.
Can't hear you. John Hokemer wants to comment.
If I could, I would just strongly urge the county board to support this resolution. I can tell you in the time that I have been here that both in HR and in finance, you are woefully understaffed. You are lacking policies. Either they're non-existent or they're really bad, and in some cases not following state law. We need to fix this. And I know every time we look at adding positions, I've been doing this for over 40 years, people always question the cost, but new positions can also save you money. Another thing is, I've been here since April 17th, and I've learned a lot while I've been here, and I've done a lot of work. You only have me for about another month yet. And that puts Candace in that office all alone. And then when you look at the additional things that are going to happen in the coming years, we don't know how soon, but with the campus property and all the other things that we're working on, it's much more than you ever had before, the workload. You're gonna have one person in that office in a very short period of time. You really need to fill these positions. And I think it's also important, as Candace said, when Candace came on, we were actually, my very first week I was here, we were interviewing for an HR director. We had a number of people that had applied, a number of them withdrew. We actually had one candidate, and after the interview, shortly after that, she decided not to pursue it. She withdrew. So we have been out, the county board has approved this. We have not been with HR director, which we thought we were gonna have back in April or May already. So it's not just adding positions, it's something that the county board already approved. And in fact, with going with an HR generalist rather than an HR director, that is saving us some money right there from what the cost would have been with an HR director. One other thing, I know there was a question about the treasurer's office, and the treasurer's office has constitutional responsibilities that you cannot take away from them, that they have to do it. You can ask them to do additional duties. In some counties, the treasurers will also do the investments, but counties are also cautious about that because, Jeffrey does a great job here, but we don't know how long Jeffrey will be serving in that position and whether the next person will have the expertise to carry out that responsibility. So I would strongly urge you to support these positions, and I think it will save you more money than it's costing you. I feel very confident about that. And Candace needs, when I say assistance, not with an administrative assistant. We have both been doing our own work, and Candace intends to continue doing that, but we need additional resources in HR. Candace, with the other responsibility that she has, and Tammy with just one person handling all the other issues, it is woefully understaffed. So again, I strongly encourage you to support the resolution.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ingrid?
Mr. Chairman.
Ingrid, first.
Thank you, Mr.
please.
Chair. I think Mr. Hokemer probably said it much better than I would be able to say, but I was just going to remind, and I know this has been already addressed about the strategic plan, and I agree with Ms. Gentis that that wasn't necessarily intended, that we had to follow it to the letter. It is a living document. However, we did pass that in 2021 after a lot of deliberation with the intent that it was going to be a guiding document for our government for the next few years. And one of the things that was recognized as a top priority was the fact that we have so many inefficiencies in the way that our government was currently running, and that a top priority was to try to correct those inefficiencies and be able to make us more effective and efficient and save us money. And part of the problem with creating a financial director position over the following years after that was the dire financial straits that we were in. So it was a bit of a catch-22. We can't add a position because we're in such dire financial straits, but if we could have that position, we might be able to actually help our dire financial straits. And so now here we are in a year where we can actually be able to add that position. I just think that it makes us one step closer to what our goal was in correcting a lot of where we were at and where we want to be.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't want to give the impression by my questioning that I am casting doubt or aspersions on this proposal. I fully support it. It is our responsibility as representatives of the people, as board members, as supervisors, to ask questions and have them resolved in our mind. In no way are my comments intended to plant doubts. I support this, and I agree with Mr. Hockheimer that there certainly is a need for both of these positions. I know that we're just voting on one tonight. I don't want my fellow supervisors here to think that I'm speaking in opposition, or that I'm casting doubt, or that I have deep reservations. We should have concerns, because that's our responsibility to oversee, to practice our duties of oversight as county board members. I support this proposal, and I want to re-emphasize that, and I will vote in favor of it.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Jones.
I'll be very quick. We were talking about the campus and me having more work. You know, my proposal is you're going to need someone hired there to get that thing organized. And that's why I'm feeling that I'm not really maybe against this, but I think you still need to review all the things that we need.
I couldn't agree with you more. So, okay, I think I'll call a roll vote on this then. We'll see where we are. So a yes means we go ahead with the finance director. A no means we better reconsider. So, Ms. Hagee, would you call a roll vote, please?
Glassbrenner.
Yes.
Gentis.
No.
Turk.
Yes.
Cosgrove.
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Severson. Williamson.
Yes.
Cooey. Fleming.
Yes.
Voice.
No.
McGuire.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes.
Seat.
Yes.
McKee.
Yes.
Renish. Luck.
Yes.
Manning.
Yes.
Gotchall.
I believe Mark Cooey's online.
Mark, are you online? You appear to be, but we can't hear you. Okay. Can you give us the results of the roll call vote, please, Ms. Hagee?
We have 14 yeses to 2 noes.
So the resolution passes, carries, so thank you. A resolution amending number 15, a resolution amending the committee structure for the Land and Zoning Standing Committee. Ms. Hagee, please read the resolution.
This will be resolution number 23-92.
Now therefore be resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval of this amendment will bring the Richland County Board Committee structure document into compliance with state statutes. Be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the Rules and Strategic Planning Standing Committee on 7 September 2023.
So you've heard the resolution, what's your pleasure? Ms. Luck and Mr. McKee seconds. And this is, can someone give me an explanation of
Would
this?
you like me to do that? I can do that.
Please.
So, Chapter 92 state statute actually dictates who the members of the Land Conservation Committee should be. And it used to be that one of the members needed to be the president of the local FSA, Farm Service Agency. And in the last couple of years, FSA decided they did not want a representative on local committees. So essentially they went, the legislators went and modified or amended, I guess, whatever, state statute 92 to redefine who that 7th member of the Land Conservation Committee can be. And they changed the language to a person participating in agricultural use, which is defined in state statute 9102 2A 1 to 7. So we needed to modify our committee structure document to reflect those changes.
Okay, thank you. So, you've heard an explanation. Ready to vote? All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the resolution carries. A resolution approving provider contracts for 2023 for the Health and Human Services Department. Trish Clements is here to address these issues. And Ms. Hagee, could you read the resolution, please?
This would be resolution number 23-93. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the Health and Human Services Board to enter into the following 2023 contracts with Roots Residential Adult Homes LLC of Racine for $100,000 to provide group home placements for adults being served by the Behavioral Health Unit, and with the Change Group LLC of Berlin for $74,500 to provide for CCS services for clients being served by the Behavioral Health Unit. And be it further resolved that the Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to amend any of the above contracts by not more than 15%. And be it further resolved that the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Tricia Clements, is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of Richland County in coordinates with this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on 14 September of 2023.
Okay, thank you. And this was resolution number 2393, I believe, right?
That is.
Is that right?
Yes.
And so in that, it talks about the Roots Residential Adult Family Homes LLC of Racine and the Change Group LLC of Berlin. To further clarify, so you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure out here? Mr. Williamson, seconded by Ms. Glassbender. And Trish Clements, it's before us. Can you give us an explanation?
Yep. These are two contracts that we need through our CCS program. For the most part, the cost of these are going to be covered by the CCS program through Medicaid, and we'll have minimal county levy in them.
Okay, so CCS program, those are the ones that the state reimburses, I think?
Yes.
So those are the good ones. We like those. Okay, contract restructuring here for those two entities. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The resolution carries, but stay there, Trish. because number 19, or 17, a resolution approving an amendment to one provider contract for the Health and Human Services Department. Ms. Clements.
So this is a contract that we're looking to amend with Cholita. That is a placement resource in La Crosse for one of our youth in placement, and this would be county levy that would be funding this placement.
Yeah, and we need to read the resolution. I'm sorry, Ms. Hickey, please read the resolution.
This would be resolution number 23-94. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the following amendment to the following grant contract with Cholita Institute of La Crosse, with the original contract being for $255,000, amended to be $300,000 due to an increased care need for children being served in the Children and Youth Services Unit. And be it further resolved that the Health and Human Services Board is hereby authorized to amend any of the above contracts by not more than 15%. Be it further resolved that the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Tricia Clements, is hereby authorized to sign the above contracts on behalf of Richland County in accordance with this resolution. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the County Board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on 14 September of 2023.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Ms. Gentis and Mrs. Fleming seconds. Now, Trish.
So this is a contract that we need for a young man who is currently in placement there. His needs have increased, and so they need additional funds to provide one-on-one staffing for him. This is mainly funded through county levy, but if there are additional funds left over that we receive from the Department of Children and Families, those would be used to offset this cost.
Thank you. This is one person, is that correct?
Yes.
Wow. Anyone else wish to comment or question? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of increasing this contract signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, done. We've increased it. Number 18, a resolution approving the 24 through 28 Richland County Regionally Coordinated Transportation Plan. Ms. Hagee.
This would be resolution number 23-95. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for the 2024 to 2028 Richland County Regional Coordinated Transportation Plan. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on 14 September 2023.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Ms. Fleming, seconded by Mr. Williamson. Trish.
So the Regional Coordinated Transportation Plan is a 5-year plan. We do need to do this every 5 years so that we can secure 5310 funds from the state of Wisconsin. The plan is created by Southwest Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission in coordination with Green Grant, Iowa, Lafayette, and Richland County. The goal of the plan is to improve transportation services for those who are unable to provide their own transportation. The document outlines the planning process of engaging with people in the community, outlines the needs and gaps in services and solutions to the problems. Richland County did hold a public meeting in April. We had 26 people that were in attendance and gave input on this plan. And the primary goals for the county are to increase the number of volunteers that we have, to expand transportation opportunities in the community, to increase communication about our program, and to decrease the stigma of the program, and to continue the marketing campaign that we have, connecting our communities. Where do you want to go, and what do you want to do? So we're asking that you approve this plan.
Thank you. All those in favor of approving the regionally coordinated transportation plan signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is approved. Thank you. Resolution approving the Department of Health and Human Services applying for and accepting a treatment alternative and diversion grant, TAD grant. Ms. Heggie.
This would be resolution number 23-96. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that approval is hereby granted for Health and Human Services to apply and accept a treatment alternatives and diversion TAD grant administered by the Wisconsin Department of Justice, Department of Corrections, and Department of Health Services in the amount of $177,333. And be it further resolved that the grant requires a $43,333 county match up to $28,523, of which will be cash funding, and $14,810 will be in-kind match. And be it further resolved that approval is hereby granted for the grant funds to be spent in accordance with the terms of the grant, and the Director of Health and Human Services, Ms. Tricia Clements, is authorized to sign on behalf of the county and any documents necessary to carry out this resolution. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on 14 September of 2023.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee. Need a second? Mr. Cosgrove, second. Is Mr. Carroll trying to make a second, right? Don's got that big screen up there. I can't see you, so I'll learn to look around it. Okay. This is a grant, a TAD grant, and Trish, can you give us an explanation?
Yeah, these grant funds support our treatment court. Right now we have, I believe it's 14 people enrolled in treatment court, and ultimately this does serve the community as it does give people treatment and keeps them out of our jails as long as they are safe to remain in the community.
Okay, thank you. That's the alternate treatment.
Add to that really quick, Mr. Chair. I
Yes.
just want to state also that since this program started, there's been, I believe, a 0% recidivism rate for the participants in this program.
Thank you. That is good news. Great news. Okay, so it's doing some good. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Trish. You can go back now to that place up on Highway 14. Okay, a resolution recognizes the retirement of an employee of the Health and Human Services Department. Ms. Hagee.
This would be resolution number 23-97. Now therefore be it resolved by the Richland County Board of Supervisors that the county board hereby expresses its sincere appreciation to Ms. Karn Schuff of over 33 years of dedicated service to the Richland County, and be it further resolved that the Richland County Board wishes Ms. Karn Schuff a long and happy retirement, and be it further resolved that the county clerk shall send a copy of this resolution to Ms. Schuff. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage and publication. This resolution was offered by the county board members of the Health and Human Services and Veterans Standing Committee on 14 September of 2023.
You've heard the resolution. What's your pleasure? Mr. McKee. Seconded by Mr. Carroll. All right. We got him on the record. He was here tonight, so we got it. Okay, Trish, this is recognizing a long-term employee. And, we've got a lot of those folks, and they're leaving because they're getting retirement age. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? resolution is adopted. Now brings us to closed session. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session. Mr. McKee, seconded by Fleming. All those in favor of going into closed session signify by saying aye. Aye. We are in closed session. Okay, we're back in open session. Ms. Hickey, do we have any correspondence to share with the board?
Sorry. There was just one memorandum from Forward Analytics. There, I believe there is a copy in everyone's mailbox in the clerk's office, and there should have been a copy uploaded to the.
Okay, Forward Analytics, good outfit, part of Wisconsin Counties Association. John or Candace, anything under correspondence you want to share? Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to October 24th. Mr. Manning, seconded by Ms. Fleming. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.